Roller skating. Because people get crazy about that. People get crazy.
So you're like, do not
not
irritate the community.
It doesn't even have to come up.
No, it has to come up.
Oh, okay. Okay, yeah, you're right.
You're right.
You're so right. It does.
It needs to come up.
Wait, you're right. That makes sense.
Yeah. I was thinking that I was going to start potentially just reading the reasons I wanted you on the show.
Oh, I love that.
I sent you the notes of like my research and what I'm planning to ask. And I was just thinking like that was for myself. Just wrap my mind around like why I'm doing this, why I wanted her on. And then I sent it to you and you're like, oh my gosh.
And then I started crying.
Yeah.
I took a video of me lightly sobbing.
Oh my God.
Like, as soon as I start crying, I'm like,
oh yeah. I've never done it, but like content.
Yeah. Totally. It's like, this is really happening.
Yeah.
I love that.
So I kind of wanted to read it and then like we could get into like you explaining like what you do and everything.
Let's do it.
Okay.
I need this.
So it was like the reason I wanted her on the show. Her free spirit, her passion in bringing people along her self-love journey, being an example of living freely and comfortably in your own skin by constantly challenging yourself, her film work, and how it delivers messages, how she's willing and openly living outside the box and figuring out her way, how she's incorporated travel into her life and profession, the lessons she shares, and the workshop she hosts.
Wow.
So this,
You make me sound pretty good.
No.
When you put it into a paragraph, I don't think it hits me that I do those things until I see someone else.
I like packaged it.
Yeah, you packaged it.
Yeah.
Like, let me put that on my resume. Damn, girl.
Yeah, I could use this little clip.
Yeah.
Like I said, like that was like me just like what I interpreted from your content, but I do want to hear like more about like what you do and how you would describe it.
You know, it's so funny because when people ask me, what do you do? The shorter list is, what don't I do, girl? It's already work to just be. It should just exist here in this economy, in this society.
Yeah.
But what I do, my work, I think, motivator, content creator, roller skater, and I'm still a bartender sometimes. And I think I want to say my next thing is to like host types of things and be, I've done a couple of workshops, but I want to do that more consistently. I want to empower people. So my thing I always say is my passion is to inspire and empower people to be themselves and live without regret. And so that's the job title I would fully give myself. That isn't necessarily something I can put on a resume, but that's what I'm passionate about, for sure.
And that's what you're doing. That's why I was like, every single post, like no matter what you're doing, whether you're like roller skating or you're putting together like a huge like travel compilation, it's like all with like a similar message of like
so much intention.
Sometimes life on your terms.
Yeah, sometimes I'm like, girl, it doesn't have to be this deep. But I feel like everything my big thing is, ever since like numbers became such a thing on the internet, I was like, I don't care if only one person sees this. If it has the impact that it's gonna have, that I want it to have, then it's a success. If one person likes it and they got what they're supposed to get out of it, then I'm happy. Yeah.
And if they don't follow you, like you never know what video is gonna be the first video they see. True. So it's like, you're kind of like even with the podcast, I'm like, I should probably reintroduce what the podcast is like
every
about
time. Yes.
Every time, instead of thinking like
the
same
know.
people.
Yes.
Yeah,
that's actually
you never know.
You're right.
Yeah,
and I try to. I need to think of that more. And it's not even that I don't have that mindset behind every post or everything I do. It's more that I'm like, I need you to know. Like, I just need there to be a message. I like to have purpose behind posting, which is so exhausting, honestly.
Yeah.
Because, sometimes I'm like, I wish I could just throw something up there willy-nilly, but I'm so overly intentional, and I think it comes with my age too, where I just care about what I'm putting out there.
Yeah. Like what you're putting your energy towards even.
Yeah,
like
and the energy that people are gonna get out of it.
Yeah. Like if you're gonna create content regardless, it's gonna be effort.
Yes, you're
like,
right.
Even if you do like a makeup tutorial and you don't say a word, it's still work, because you might as well like try to get a little message.
Yeah. Yeah. Thanks for putting it that way. Sometimes I'm like, I really wish I could just be someone that cared less, but I do care. But I put like I always say, like, save your fucks for the good stuff. Like, it's not that I care what people think. I more care what people are going to think after seeing this thing. Like, okay, will this shift your mindset a little? Yeah.
Well, okay, so you said it was like the first time that you like heard it like that.
Yeah, it really is.
Yeah. So like how long did it take you to even like get to the point where you like it's like strong enough for somebody to look at and be like, oh yeah, that's exactly what I like. That's the impression I got right away. Like, how long have you been creating content with that intention?
Oh my gosh, with that intention?
Yeah.
I feel like I've always, before it used to be, I was okay with just being funny, which I am a funny girl.
Yeah.
I am, and I really want to
I know, I had such a good time already.
Yeah, I am a funny girl.
Yeah.
It's just like, that's not the thing that I put out there the most. But I actually have been creating content for like a long time. But with intentional content, this has been probably the last like 2-3 years. Because I originally started vlogging. My first thing was like on YouTube, being a vlogger. But my ex hated it so much. And we lived together, so it was impossible to not have him in the footage. Bless that breakup, because it freed me to be able to actually do what I want to do and film what I want to film and not feel so like I can't, you know? Oh, gosh. Yeah.
And you have like a variety of content. You have like the vlogging style.
Yes.
And then like I was like, did she go to like film school? Like the way
That's so generous.
No, the way that you put together, like, first of all, like some of your videos, I'm like, oh, there's like, how many scenes are in here? Like 20 different scenes. And then there's like a message all the way through. And then the message like lands on a scene that makes sense for what you're saying. So I was like, it's like real film work.
It's hard.
Yeah.
I'm not even kidding. This is
we need to give transparency because
Oh, yes. Do you know what? The people think that it's out here just so easy to make content. It's really not. It's really, the hours, I'm embarrassed. No, I'm not embarrassed. Take pride.
Yeah.
But sometimes a video will literally take me like a week because I have to step away from it. And then I do, like, I'll cut it. And then I'm like, all right, cool. And then I'll look over it again. And then I'll cut it again. And then I'll like think about what I want the message to be and write a script for the voiceover. And then I have to line up the voice, because my vlog style is very unnecessarily complicated because I like to keep original audio, but then weave in the message and like, like, why am I like this?
Yeah. No, but it's like your art.
Yeah. It's nice when you think of it that way, because you can't put a timeline on creativity, is what I realized. I'm like, but comparison is the thief of joy, obviously. It'll make you think you're not doing enough when you're doing the most. So,
the absolute most.
The absolute most.
Yeah, the absolute most.
Yes.
I know. I'm like, so I can relate.
Oh, can you?
Yeah.
Any creative person can relate. Whatever it is that you're creating, you can relate.
But that's when the passion comes into place, because they say like,
I couldn't do it if I weren't passionate about
it.
I'd be like, bye bitch,
like there's
I'm
no
out.
way it would be as good if you didn't like genuinely care to the degree you care.
Right.
Like if you're just slapping some stuff together and putting it out there.
I know, but some people do.
Yeah.
But even then, I think I don't want to discredit people who like, it looks like they just slap it together, but there still goes into like even skits. You know, you're gonna write the script, you're gonna skit, you're gonna cast the people, you're gonna go through yeah, I think anything that even seems a little slapped together is still, there's still always effort. Yeah.
But so when did it get to the point where you're like, okay, like I'm actually like a content creator now, I think.
I still don't know that I feel that
way.
But
you have like a decent size following.
That's true.
Yeah.
I think
like it's real.
Is it? Is any of this real? Let's get existential.
Yeah.
No, but
we will.
It's happening.
Yeah.
No, when did it start feeling real? It was when I started. I hate attaching it to this, but when I actually realized, I could make money off of this. Okay. When I was like, I'm going to quit bartending and I'm going to see, and that's when it really kind of became real, because before it was more, like a passion project for fun. And I still have fun with it, but now to realize that this is something I can actually do, I want to attach that also to being a Filipino American. It was like not really seeing it as a job or ever really realizing that this is something is viable, like is a viable option, that I can be a creative and not work as a nurse and still be successful, damn it,
Yeah.
So, but I still struggle, definitely. I mean, imposter syndrome goes hard. It really started becoming something I decided to own and be like, I am a creator very recently. I would say at the beginning of this year.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
okay.
So recently, and I've been doing it for so long.
Okay.
That only now am I like, I am.
Oh my gosh.
I am a creator.
Okay, can you tell me about the video with your dad, the Facebook video? Because that's the first video that I saw that I was like,
oh, really?
This is like almost like a representation of what the podcast stands for.
Oh, that's the video you saw?
That was the first.
Wow, that's perfect.
It was crazy because I don't even know. Actually, I follow one of your friends who's a content creator as well.
Okay.
I don't remember her name. Something by something.
Lisa. It has
Probably.
to be Lisa. Of course it's Lisa. Shout out Lisa.
Yeah. Beautiful content.
Yes. She's been doing it for 10 years.
Okay.
And
And
it shows.
And she tagged you and she was just like, just going on and on about like how great you are and how much you've been there for her and stuff like that.
I do remember.
And I don't know why I clicked on it. I think I was just intrigued. Like, who is this person?
Yeah.
Like,
she was saying so many nice things.
So many nice things.
I think I know exactly the post you're talking about.
You helped her at an event and you stayed like
Create,
late and stuff like that. And I guess, and that event is something that like I almost kind of dream about being a part of one day. So I think I was drawn to it. Thanks.
Yeah.
So I clicked on it, and then the video with your dad, the campaign you did with Facebook, was pinned.
Yeah.
I clicked on that, and the first question you ask him is, "Do you know what I do?" And that's such a relevant question to ask like our parents.
Totally.
Like,
especially with this day and age when there's so many jobs that were not a job.
That did not exist. Well, like jobs, people are doing jobs today that didn't exist 5 years ago.
Right.
You know? So like imagine like when they were growing up and like, or they just started having kids and they had a vision for like who you were going to be in the world.
Yeah.
It's like
totally.
Yeah.
Nope.
Yeah. Okay, scratch all that.
Throw it out, burn it. Love that that's the one that you saw. That one's so near and dear to me, that whole experience, because one, it is a perfect representation of me and my dad's relationship. I think it made a lot of people cry.
Yeah.
For some reason, because
it was really sweet.
They saw themselves in there, or it was a way to represent even just being Filipino, which is like so important to me also. But breaking down like expectations and stereotypes, but also my dad had a stroke in December, and then having that like even just, I think that's actually what motivates me a lot of the time, is going to future me and being like, what would I want to look back on and be proud of, you know? And like, that's sometimes my motivator is like, because I lost my mom also, it's actually helped me be so intentional about my relationships and what I do now. So it's like, that's really like the blessing in disguise from that whole experience too, is, I just feel like I'm so motivated because I don't want to do what my parents did. And it was so cool to have that post to show him what I actually do. Yeah. And he actually knew. I was like, oh, you know?
Well, the way he described it was really cute. He was like, you share your talents with the world.
Yeah, something like that. It was very vague, but I was like, okay. Yeah, that's exactly it.
Yeah.
That I'm grateful to have my dad who kind of understands and is supportive. My family is supportive. It's very vague still what I do, because again, I do so many things. Just to have them not, I guess, put it down or even judge me. Because it's so easy to judge that. This. It's like, well, you're making videos. I'll get sent packages, and I live with my aunties right now, and I'll get sent packages, and I'm like, I have to make a video. And they're like, what? Like, they'll just hear me in my room being the fullest version of myself, and I just crack up. I honestly crack up thinking of like, what do they think this is? Like, what am I doing? Yeah. You know?
I think the hardest part is like when you haven't even figured it out for yourself. Like, it's one thing to be like, Dad, I know you don't get it, but like, I'm gonna buy you this house. And it's like, all right.
All right.
Yeah.
Totally.
But like when you're first starting and you have all those insecurities yourself, you don't know it's gonna work. You are experiencing like all those self-doubts and financial insecurities, all the things that come with it. You're taking this like huge risk. So like having that little bit of support really goes a long way, because you're like, I'm scared too.
Yes. Oh my gosh, I love that you put it like that, because it's so true. When you do ask me what I do, I'm like, I don't know what I'm doing.
I'm trying.
I'm putting effort towards something in the hopes that it becomes something
that matters to me.
Yeah, exactly. Like, it's more, that is such a great way to put that, because I don't even think about it like that. Is like when they ask, it's not that I don't want to tell them or I can't explain it. It's just more that I'm really not sure myself.
Yeah.
I'm still trying to figure it out also.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's a great point.
I was curious, like, when you decided, because in the video too, you're like, I remember growing up and being like really encouraged. Yes. I don't know if you used the word encouraged. You might have even used the stronger word.
I was pushed.
Yeah.
Push.
Yeah, I was gonna like,
no, encouraged is a little different than being pushed.
Yeah, I was like, let me stand up for your dad right now and say that he encouraged.
I was pushed.
Okay.
Of course.
To be more of a professional in the traditional sense.
Of course. That you're gonna go to college and you're gonna be a nurse or a doctor. A lawyer was the big one for me, because I had.
Lawyer's a good one.
Yeah.
It's it looks good on the family.
And I'm a talkative ass.
Yeah.
So they knew. But I feel like the only time I really started realizing that wasn't, not that I am not capable. I know I'm capable. It's more like, what would my energy be best used for and toward? And that's when I start again with intentionality, because you really can do whatever you want to do. Like once you wrap your brain around like, I can really do anything I want to do. If the only difference between us and people who are doing the thing we want to do is that they didn't stop. They didn't quit. They didn't quit. That's it. You know, and that's like the success story of so many people is that they just, even when they were told no, they kept going.
Yeah.
You know? And so for me, I really realized, I think once, and this is going to sound so bad, but once my mom passed away, I had the freedom to like do what I wanted, which is like, I am so big on blessings in disguise because things that are sent to break you can actually make you. And depending on how you want to, you know, you put your spin on it. So it set me free for real. It really did, to be like, you know what? I don't have to like people please or meet an expectation anymore necessarily. And I can just live for me, because being Filipino, being a Filipino American it's another like hat you have to wear, like without you even realizing that you're unintentionally, or maybe without knowing, kind of being guided and pushed to do things because of what is expected of you than what you actually want to do, than what is true to you, or
100%.
you know.
Yeah, I mean, that was like one of my questions too. I was like, how hard is it? And I mean, it's not even how hard is it, because it's definitely hard.
Yeah.
But like the process of like just differentiating between what do I truly want and what was I like made to believe I should want.
Yes.
And depending, there's certain things where it's like, okay, you tell me I should do this profession and I don't feel it. Like, I don't even feel like I'd be good at it, whatever. I don't feel inclined. It's almost like an easy, like, yes or no.
Right.
And even if you want to like satisfy your parents, it's like, I'm not gonna
Yeah.
I'm not gonna succeed at this.
Right.
But there's other things that are expected in terms of like time milestones, things like that.
Oh yeah.
That you
Are you
just
talking about what I think you're talking about?
what?
Getting married.
Yeah.
Having kids.
Yeah.
Doing the whole
That whole bit. It's like
Yes.
there's very like clear timelines, and it's like you're supposed
like the milestones that you're supposed to hit at
Yeah.
you know certain points in your life.
Yeah, and it's so seeped in that you don't even know
Yes.
whether if you want it or if that's what you're supposed to want.
And
so
I see that so much.
Yeah.
I see that so much where people will, and I'm not going to judge because I understand that I can't judge you based on with the environment you were in. You are a product of that. So if that's what you ended up doing, then it makes sense. But also, you see it so often where people are settling over doing what they actually want to do because of what is expected of them, and then or what they're supposed to do to be happy, or what's supposed to make them feel fulfilled, or what's supposed to be, you know. And I feel like I wish more people would just take a minute. Take a year.
Yeah.
Take a year. I think this should be a life requirement. 2 life requirements, I think, should be working a service industry job. I think that's a necessary. And being by yourself for a year, or traveling somewhere by yourself, because you will find a version of yourself you didn't know existed. Because we're around people so much, and even in relationships, because I've been a relationship girl my whole life until recently. This is the longest I've ever been single, but it's also the most I felt successful in like my mind, body, and soul. Not like money, although praise, it's been great, but being confident and being the fullest version of myself. So the expectation can overpower what actually is meant for you.
for sure.
You know?
Yeah. I love the idea of 1 year. I've never even considered one full year,
Just give yourself
but one full
year.
year would be great.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because we're from the day we're born to whenever, we're always with people, around people. But you're going to be a product of the people you spend the most time with. To spend a year like just
and not
you.
to say you can't work, because
Right.
you get to a certain age where it's like you don't even have the liberty to fully explore things without financial burden. So
Right.
it's like you're gonna have to keep it moving in terms of like that.
Totally.
But like separating yourself from, we even talked about this in like one of my other episodes where it's like separating yourself from your like common environment and rediscovering who you are is a really big tool.
So it's like the comfort zone is where dreams die. They say that a lot, and it's like, it's true.
Yeah.
There's such a boundary of like, comfortable is cool until it's really not, until it's actually paralyzing you.
Yeah, and you'll feel it. Like, you'll feel stagnant.
Yes.
Which is terrifying, because like when you get to a period where like nothing that your life is made up of feels like you anymore.
Oh, yeah.
Where to go from there?
I think that's where like a lot of depression comes from too. It's like you've lived your life so much by other people and other expectations, and also we're in a society where you can see what everyone else is doing, and comparison is such a thief of joy. You could actually be good, but you won't think you are, because you see what everyone else. It makes me sad.
Yeah.
Like social media has such a pro and a con For sure. And that's why I think I want to show up the way I do. I'm so passionate about it because like one of the big ways I protect my peace is I won't follow people that make me feel bad about myself. And I always want to be someone that makes you feel good about wherever you're at in your journey.
Yeah.
Wherever you are in your journey, you're exactly where you're supposed to be. Don't panic. It's fine. And yeah, just trusting the process.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think you're doing it by being an example of that, by not acting like you have it all figured out just yet.
My gosh.
Like, so that's what, like, did it take you time to get into like actually putting out content, feeling like I need to have it all figured out before people can follow me and listen to me?
Oh, that is such
Because I think that's a fear a lot of people have.
Yes.
Like, why would anybody listen to me? I haven't figured it out.
Yeah.
When you could just be like more so on the perspective of like, I'm just going to be me in the thick and ugliness potentially of my journey, and hopefully you can learn something from it or join me, or we can have some sort of like community, whatever angle you decide to go with it.
Right, relatability. Yeah. So that's actually how my account started was I was sharing when I was not a professional at any. I was terrible. So I started roller skating because of the pandemic. You know, we all needed a way to survive and be outside. So my sister, bless her, got me a pair of skates. I didn't ask her to, because she found my size. And this was when it was like, you could not find your size. Everybody was roller skating. So she was like, you should start an account to like follow your journey. And everybody was doing it actually. Everybody was showing how much they weren't good at it.
Okay.
And I was really good at not being good at it. I was terrible. But I didn't care because there was no pressure. You know, it was the pandemic. I didn't care. So I was doing like a daily skate thing. You would do like day 1, day 4, day 5 of like whatever you're trying to learn on skates. And it kind of took off because I didn't care. I didn't care what it looked like. And I only wanted to show people that my big thing then was you only fail if you quit. And I've taken that through like everything I do now. You only fail if you quit is a really big, I don't know if I call it a mantra, but something I always say to people. And I started making like tutorials for beginners, and some people got mad at that because obviously I'm not a professional.
Okay.
But sometimes people learn differently, right? They need to hear it from somebody who's closer to their
themselves.
journey. Yes,
yeah.
Closer to their journey. So I've got a lot of people who were upset about me trying to teach people something I wasn't professional at. But it's not like I was out there saying, I'm a professional, do this. It was more like, here's what worked for me. I don't know if it's going to work for you, but let me at least share and try. And so I took that concept and I ran with it with the rest of what I do in my life.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you kind of knew you were into like vlogging and things like that?
I had already always, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, but remember I stopped because of my ex.
Yeah.
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 Yeah. Yeah.
And then when roller skating, I'm saying it right?
Yeah, good job.
Yeah.
Roller skating.
Not rollerblading. Yeah. Yeah. That's the only thing I know how to do is rollerblading, but I need to get into it. After I saw like how much fun you have,
It's
I'm
so
like,
much fun. It's something you can do. Why I love it is something you can do by yourself. It's
right.
Like, you don't. Yeah.
And so that was like you're like, let me try. Was it kind of like I'm gonna try this content angle, or it's really okay?
I had no. Like that was the least intentional I had ever been, because I wasn't even like hyper editing anything. It was more like I would just legit show a clip, caption it, and like when I fell, when I shit, when I figured it out, and I'd be like, I would legit be like clapping for myself out loud. And I think people really liked just how genuine I was, because I wasn't playing a person. I wasn't trying to be anything other than myself and the girl who was trying to learn something new in her 30s.
Okay, so I was talking about all like the intentions behind your content. You actually have like a lot of challenges that I love. There was one of them when I was thinking about like what I was going to do for the podcast, the idea of like trying something new and putting myself out there was like an idea of like a challenge I wanted to do at some point.
Yeah.
And then I saw that you do that, but you have a few. You have the new rules, hashtag the new rules, hashtag 2020 me.
Yes.
And then the other one is the one where you try something new. There's
Oh
one
yeah,
more?
I'm always or do what scares you is one of my things.
Okay.
Also. Yeah, I have a lot.
Okay.
Damn girl.
Yeah. Well, all of them are like special in their own way. Let's talk about the new rules.
Yes.
Because that of course plays into the podcast too, where it's like,
yeah,
like let's observe what rules we're even following. Mm-hmm. Like let's actually like
without even
because a lot of times you're just subconsciously like following this like path without realizing it. So like be conscious of like what you're doing, why you're doing it, and then just start to scratch out the ones that are not working.
Right.
And rewrite your own. And so I guess that's your intention for that.
Yes. Okay.
Movement.
Because I feel like it's so easy to we're born into society that tells you exactly what you're supposed to do, when you're supposed to do it. Mm-hmm. And then I think about it, I thought about it because really does not make sense for us to all have the same path when we're born at a different time, born in a different place, are a product of our environment, learning from different people and learn differently. Like, how does it make sense that we're all supposed to do the same thing?
At the same time.
Make it make sense. Literally does not make sense at all. Then I realized this is all made up. Someone made up these rules in the first place, these things that we follow. Then why can't we shape our reality? And once you realize that you can, and you should, and that you have every opportunity to every single day, then it was like, yeah,
I'm curious. A question just came. What do you think is like the scariest one that you've been
indoctrinated?
Yeah, like have like broken or tried to break. Like, what's the one that like scares you the most?
That scares me the most. Oh, this is gonna sound so
like the most challenging.
Most challenging. Okay.
Yeah.
Most challenging thing that I've been told. Oh, that having fun is a waste of time. And I don't know if that's just being Asian American, where like everything has to be productive. It has to be something that's working toward like a goal, like you're working on something else. But it's like, if I'm not having fun, then none of this it's not gonna come off the way that I want it to. I'm not using the energy. It won't be the right energy, because for me, I always, because like I'm fun size, I'm gonna have fun. But it's realizing that your best version of yourself is the one where you're happy, actually. And redefining success, not to just be dollars in your bank account, but like, are you good? Do you wake up and feel joy, like excited? Do you wake up and feel like you have energy and you're doing something that means something to you, you know? And I do feel like, and this is not to invalidate, the Filipinos who like, bless them. They come here, they work, they bring their family over, they send money back, they do what was expected of them, but it's challenging the idea that that's all you're supposed to do, and that the only way that you're going to have, purpose or success in your life is if you do the same thing that everyone's been doing. Mm-hmm. So like rewriting that whole script of like, nah, you know what, actually. So yeah, that was like a big thing for me I talk about being Filipino American a lot, because like, if you get it, the girls that get it. And not saying that you don't get it, but it's like it's like breaking free of the shackles of, and it's mostly like your family. And so it's a very Filipino family thing to like, you'll just bite your tongue. So you say, yes, I'll do that. But do you want to?
I like that concept of like your best self is your happiest self.
Yeah.
So like even if you put in the perspective of like you operating at like the highest frequency, that's the real you.
Yes.
Like the dimmed down version when you're just like robotically going through steps through life, that's not the real you.
No.
At your highest frequency is like the purest form of who you truly are. So if you can find things like we were talking about before, of course there's responsibilities and stuff like that, but if you can find and make time, and that's something you talk about too, like scheduling and joy.
Yeah.
If you do that, you can like consistently, you could just like feel what it's like to live within that space, and even connect to who you are when you're feeling that way. It'll make a difference in anything else you do in life.
100%. Your best, like.
So that's why it becomes productive.
Yes,
Fun becomes
exactly.
productive.
Because you can't pour from an empty cup. You've heard this saying over and over and over again, and it's something that no one else can look out for except for you. And that's the problem, is like, no one's gonna tell you that the things that you should, or that mean something to you. And if you don't take the time to like figure it out, or like give yourself permission, is like the biggest thing, is giving your own self permission to do things just for the sake of doing them. To do things not because it's gonna make you another stream of income, but because it just like brings you joy, and to do things because it's okay to be bad at something too. Like it's okay to fail. Failure actually is an option, is another thing I'm big on, is like, why is it so like there's such a stigma against like failure? And I feel like this generation now is kind of breaking free of that, which I love. But it's like, how are you gonna know what you like unless you try it?
Yeah.
And at least you're sifting through.
Yeah.
Even in relationships, I'm like, was it a failure if I now know I'm never doing that again? Because like, bless that. I'm glad, because now I know.
Yeah. No, talking about failure, like there's been so many times where like I want to do something, let's say a little bit outside of the box. Like even moving to LA, things like that. And speaking to my parents about it. And I remember telling my mom something I wanted to do that was like outside of the norm. And she just was like a little bit like closed off about it. And I was like, what's like, explain to me, like what's going on here? Like why, like why is that your reaction? She's like, well, what if you fail? I'm like, I'm like, oh, okay, so you're afraid I'm going to get hurt. But my perspective is failure is a part of the process. I don't see it that way. For me, every time I fail, I'm getting closer to figuring it out. So I don't see it as something to be sad about. And then she changed her perspective, and then she wasn't afraid for me to try anymore. But when you grow up in an environment that has that essence where it's like, don't try because if you fail, you'll be hurt about it. So switching that whole thing up and like being like, no, how did you say it? Failure is an option.
It is.
Yeah,
it is.
yeah.
It's actually a necessity is what I've so realized that. And I think roller skating really helped me is that like failure is a necessity. Like this is what's great about roller skating. It really like put a mindset that was physical and turned it into like a metaphorical one, was that like, you really will not get better unless you fall. You have to fall when you roller skate. People are like, what if I fall? I'm like, bitch, you are gonna fall.
Yeah.
Once you accept,
to fall.
yes, expect it. That is happening 100%. And if you apply that to life, like, oh wait, that doesn't mean that I suck at this. That just means I need to try harder, do something different, try a new way. And I was like, oh my gosh.
And make it fun.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's like, just laugh at yourself.
Yeah.
It's like, we're so serious about like, what if they find out? Okay, well then let's normalize that this is actually a part of what needs to happen for you to get to wherever you want to be.
100%.
You know?
Yeah. Talking about like your move, should I call them movements? I feel like I want to call them movements, but I don't know if you call them that.
Fine.
You have movements.
There's no wrong.
You have a few movements. But yeah, like I was saying, like the 2020 me.
Yes.
So do they kind of like overlap, or did you have like very clear intentions for each one?
So 2020 me came about because I do this thing, even with my age, where I am so cheesy. I'll call it something like 31 was 30 fun. Like, I'm going to have fun. And even for 2021, I was like, this is 2020 fun. And 2022 was 2020, woo! Like, and then 2020 me came about because this was finally the time where I went all in on myself.
I love
like
that.
I quit my job. I was like, I'm gonna commit to doing TikTok, to doing Instagram, to like doing anything that I feel like called to. And so it was also about me not feeling bad as a recovered people pleaser, to do things that are just for me, or to say no to things because I want to do something for me, or like and empowering myself and empowering other people to not feel bad about being quote unquote selfish. Like, if being selfish is wrong, like, well, who else is gonna look out for me?
Yeah.
Especially, I hate to say it, but as a woman, we give, and people take, but like, who else? The only person who can give back to you really is you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I went through like so many stints of insecurity, like throughout my life, like just so many like ups and downs. It's kind of basically like an uphill battle to like really build confidence and like stand true in who I really am, and like move forward in the world like that without worrying about what people are going to think about me, or trying to bend or shape myself depending on who I'm around so I could be likable and I could be acceptable and all that stuff. It's been a journey. But even something like this with the podcast, like, it's vulnerable. I'm putting myself out there. I'm putting myself on camera for the first time, me speaking, me saying my opinions. Like, it's all very vulnerable, but for the first time, I'm doing it and I don't really care.
That is the best thing you could do for your confidence.
I randomly feel liberated, and I think maybe it's just been brick after brick after brick, and I finally met a place where I'm like, I'm just doing it. And I was telling a friend, I'm like, I don't feel that like pullback that I used to feel. Like, there were so many times I was like intending to release the podcast, and I didn't, because I like almost didn't have the heart to potentially stand up to any criticism or get any judgment. Like, I wouldn't be able to like handle it. So I held back. And now I'm doing it, and I'll post and I won't feel anything about it. And my friend was like, how did that happen? Like, what happened? And I was like, I'm putting myself first. Like, it's more important for me to move forward in something I care about than what people have to say or what people think. I finally got there.
Yeah, I'm so proud of you.
Thanks.
Because that's it's a lifelong journey.
It really is.
To stop caring about the outcome, about what other opinions are going to be about it, but like anything, especially creatively, and doing something like this, is because no matter what, there's going to be eyes on it. And then once you realize, like, listen, girl, no matter what you do, people are going to judge you. So you might as well do something that makes you happy and that you're passionate about.
Yeah.
Like, either way, someone's going to have something to say about it.
Yeah.
So... yeah, wow.
Yeah.
I'm so happy for you.
Thanks. And it's crazy how it can happen like spontaneously. Like,
yeah,
so it's
just switch flips.
Yeah, like, and it's crazy. So it's kind of like encouraging, like, if you're on that journey where you're like building your self-confidence, your self-esteem, just your courage to put yourself out there, each time is going to feel different. Like, I may randomly, like, for whatever reason, feel more nervous today than I did last week. just for whatever reason. But if you do it often enough and you keep moving down that path, eventually it's almost like a spontaneous thing. We're like, wait a minute, I actually don't care anymore.
Or it's like a muscle that you've been,
maybe
you've been
it's
building.
that.
It's a
Maybe
muscle
it's
you've been
that.
building. Because that's what
Maybe that's a better answer.
Totally.
Yeah.
Because it is. It's like the more you practice not giving a shit, the less shits you have
There
to
we
give.
go. That's what it
really
is.
what
And then
it
all of a
is.
sudden I'm like, oh, that's kind of easy.
Yeah. You're
Yeah.
like, oh, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's really, again, pushing yourself outside your comfort zone. The more you do it, the easier that it is. And that's why I think I am passionate about the things that I'm passionate about. It's like, yeah, travel solo, girl, do it. Or like, who cares? Like, start that account, post whatever you want to post. Like, just, we're all guilty of it. I still have moments where I'm like when I'm about to post something where I'm like, wait a minute, who am I posting for? Am I posting for you, or am I posting to be proud of me? You know, and refocusing. I sometimes have to have a routine, like a mental routine where it's like, okay, accept that someone's going to judge you for this, accept that this might not get a lot of likes, accept that, you know, this could flop or whatever. You go back to like, your why is so important. Once you build your muscle of like, why am I doing this? Why? Is it for the numbers? No. Is it for the clout? No, it's for the purpose, for the passion, for me to be proud of myself. I always think of like future me and like looking back on her and being like, I'm glad you did that, because you're not ever gonna. I would rather make a mistake and fail than regret not trying or not doing it at all. Like the biggest thing you hear people say when they get older, because people have interviewed older people all the time. They'll be like, "What's your, something you wish you did?" Or like their biggest regrets are having regrets about not doing something when they were younger or when they could. Or
yeah. I was listening to a podcast yesterday. I think it's called like How to Be Happy or something like that. And they interviewed people in their 80s, men and women.
Yes.
And they said for men, the biggest thing that they regret is not spending enough time with their loved ones because they put so much time into work. And for women, and even a lot of these women at the time, they were saying, well, these are women that like stayed home and everything. Like they weren't even in the workforce, but their biggest thing was regretting spending so much time caring about what other people think.
Wow. It's true though. It's so, oh man. Yeah, put that somewhere. We need to put that somewhere because it's true. Like that is, and it's, again, I don't blame any woman or any person for caring. It makes sense that you do. Of course you care. Of course I really thought about this too, is like, even in school, you're taught like everything you do is announced or shared, or like your wins are it's in front of everyone all the time. So even from a young age, you're taught that like someone's opinion of you matters. You're constantly being judged. So like once you break free of like, I feel like this happens a lot when people are home, when kids are homeschooled. I'm like, damn, they were really, because I think about Billie Eilish. She was homeschooled and like she was really encouraged to just be whatever she, without worrying about being judged. And I'm not saying school is bad, but it's like, wow, you're in an environment where everyone knows what you're doing. Everyone knows if you failed. Everyone knows if you're good at something or if you're bad at something. So
you have like an image to upkeep.
Yes, from a young age.
From a very young age. Yeah, I was actually having the debate of homeschooling with somebody.
Oh, really?
The other day, and they were like, no, like there's something wrong with people that got homeschooled. Like their socialization is not right.
See, I get that
and
too.
I was like, but you could be intentional with socialization. You could put them in sports and different activities.
Other ways.
Yeah, like I was telling him at the time the story that I got bullied when I was like in 7th grade, and I actually had to leave schools and everything. Like it was bad.
What were you bullied for?
They just decided.
Oh,
like I just became a target.
kids.
Yeah, it was like a girl thing. Like they were calling me like a slut and stuff. And I was like 11.
Sense. Yeah, you were
like,
total hoe.
Yeah, like,
I know you.
Killing it. Yeah. I was like, what? I don't even know how to do this stuff. You're telling me I'm doing it all the time? And well? Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah. But yeah, I guess I just was like chosen as a target. I'm like, that's the things that happen in school. Like you're, so yeah, the whole debate of homeschooling.
Homeschool versus, yeah. I mean, I really, of course there's pros and cons to everything, but I really think of like how I feel like you're more encouraged to be yourself or like whatever talents you naturally have. Because the thing about school that bothers me sometimes is like, oh, we're all supposed to know the same thing and we're all supposed to be talented at the same thing. Again,
all that stuff
does not make sense to me.
Like customized curriculum sounds interesting to me.
That makes more sense. Or let's bring back apprenticeships because something you actually want to do that you care about or you feel pulled to. So it's not like I was a bad student. It's not like I did. But it was what drove me was wanting to prove myself.
Yeah.
And, that's what drove me. Is like wanting to be the star student, wanting to be the one, And then now I don't. care at all.
Yeah.
Like the switch has been flipped
Yeah.
and I don't care.
I feel like some people are just like, maybe they grew up in an environment where their parents really encouraged like them to be their own individual. And then other times, let's say somebody like in your position where it's like, it was kind of like a learning process all the way through. It was probably like really hard emotionally being like, because you go through a period where like you are following it. And then that period where you want to break away, like it's hard emotionally.
Yes.
But like, it's a great learning experience to be like, to go through it and be like, no, I want something different.
To choose for yourself. That's
Exactly.
my biggest thing, is to like choose for yourself.
Yeah.
Because there's so many things that people choose for you, or like we don't realize that we're letting them. And it's almost like, I say this all the time, it's like people can only make you feel how you allow them to. And it's again going back to like you choose your reality, you shape your reality, and even deciding that that is what you want to live by is a choice. But how freeing it really is, and how much more empowering it is once you decide, no, I'm not the person you think I am. I'm not the person you're telling me to be, and I'm not the person that even like you're seeing right now. And it is hard. It's such a journey.
Yeah,
it really is, and it's a lifelong one. It's never, it never stops. That's what I feel like I want people to really understand too. Is that like that it never stops. The moment that you decide, I'm good, is like, I think the death of you, really.
Yeah.
Because there's always more for you to learn about yourself, and opportunities that will present themselves to you the more situations you're in or you put yourself in, and that you challenge yourself. And because that's where my confidence came from, was me challenging myself. Like, can I do this? Am I, and even right now, or even doing what I'm doing now, is like, it is challenging.
It's a challenge.
Yeah, it is challenging.
Yeah. Well, when I sent you all my questions, one of the things like I kept reiterating, it was like, I feel like all your posts and your content talks about like self-acceptance, like really celebrating who you truly are.
Yeah.
And how I'm saying now, like there's kind of like a growing pains when you're like trying to figure out who you are, realizing you're not what people are telling you you're supposed to be. And there's that growing pain in deciding for yourself who you want to be. So one of the things I wanted to ask you was like, was there a period where you kind of like hit like a low in terms of like trying to follow that path, or just felt like your self-acceptance was like low and you're like, no, like this isn't happening anymore?
Oh, I think it was more like my self-love was, I had loved someone else so much more than me that I let myself be less me, unintentionally letting someone dim my light because I wanted them to be more comfortable than me being comfortable to be me. Again, does not make sense when you say it out loud. But this is what happened. We had just gotten a dog, we had just signed a lease, and we went to my best friend's wedding in Mexico. And that was where it all came crashing down. Like,
Okay.
I like being open and honest. I got a DUI when I was 25, 26 or something, and it like spun my life around. Also, that was like another blessing in disguise. Had that not happened, I'm not sure I would be who I am today. Nothing really bad happened at all. I swerved, I got pulled over, no one was hurt, and I'm grateful even for that, the way that it happened. But I ended up being with someone who was that version of myself that I had worked so hard to not be, and I tried to help them be a better version of themselves by sacrificing who I am. And I think that's where it helped. So we had the dog, we had the lease, and then we broke up after that wedding when he got obliterated. And then it was the pandemic. It was literally got the dog, signed the lease. Then we broke up. He moved out. I ended up paying for that portion that was by myself, and then it was the pandemic, and it was like, so it was like boom, 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 and then I was furloughed, and then I had no job. So it was like almost, I hate saying there was like rock bottom. It wasn't rock bottom. It was like what showed me what I was made of, and that's what really helped me so much to realize that, oh, wow, I actually am a better version of myself without you, and without someone telling me that I can't be this foolish version of myself. Turning point in my life. Turning point.
Yeah. I like that you highlight, like, because you were about to say rock bottom.
Yeah.
And even when I was writing my questions, I wrote rock bottom, but it didn't feel right. What I was trying to say is, like, there are periods of your life where, like, everything feels, and sometimes it is, crumbling. Like, everything's just, like, going
when
to
it rains,
ground.
it pours.
Yeah, going to ground zero.
Yeah.
But, like, when you hear stories of other people, it's like, oh, it was actually like right after that the light at the end of the tunnel.
Always.
Yeah.
Always.
It always is.
It
so that's
always
why
is.
I like hearing stories like that. It's like, when did that like whether you call it rock
Yeah,
bottom
yeah.
or rebirth or whatever.
It was the
whatever you
rising
want-
of the ashes, the
Yeah.
phoenix for me, the
Yeah.
phoenix moment where I like got my wings again.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's really, and I'm so big on that. It's like, again, all the things that you think are made to break you can make you for real.
Yeah, so to like look at those moments, like as painful as they are,
Yeah.
like this is an opportunity for a new start.
Yes.
And like
for
to
growth.
yeah.
But it's hard, of course, and you're allowed to feel how you feel for sure, of course. But it's what you do after. It's what you decide to do after. And I feel for people who like, you know, I feel so bad thinking that like the pandemic helped me so much, because it did. It was one way or the other for a lot of people. And for me, I'm grateful I had the time, not for what happened, but that I had the time to like start over with myself and like learn who I am and what I want to do and like what brings me joy outside of a relationship, you know? Because as women, we're taught that the relationship is the end all
It's
be
the
all.
highlight.
It's the one.
Yeah.
That's what you're working towards, right?
When they see you, they're gonna ask, like, more times they're gonna ask you about who you're with, who you're dating.
Yes, that's like
when you're gonna get married, whatever it is, rather than
Totally.
like what are you doing professionally.
Yeah,
like, that's
or
not like the
what are
top.
you working on right now?
Yeah, what are you passionate about?
Yes.
yeah. Yeah.
Rewrite that script.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
Because you're a representation of like the self-empowerment, self-acceptance, all that stuff. I want to get into the workshop stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Because I feel like I don't know what it consists of, but I feel like there's probably like some really cool exercises that you could share that maybe people have done and you're like, you know what, this little exercise that I taught people like really helps them tap into that or something like along those
New.
lines.
So this is something I just started doing. So, but
I'm like, what are the strategies?
What do you
Yeah.
got? The first one I did was about empowerment, which I love that because that's like on my big things, like you realizing that you are enough. So yeah, of course, I mean, everyone says it. You start with a mantra, it's saying I am enough, and I had everyone start with that, like I am enough, despite whatever you should, could, would do or be that is expected of you, wherever you're at right now. It's like, so it's like one of the big things I say is like you need to talk to yourself more. You need to have where it's made out to be like you're a crazy person if you talk. Have conversations with yourself. Check in on yourself because again, no one else can do that for you. Another big thing, it's more like I give them a piece of my mindset that they can take home with them that really like hits you. Because, okay, one of the things that I mentioned, that was such a big thing. Think about in all of time and space and eternity, and the billions and billions of people that exist on this earth that will keep being born every single day, no matter what, somehow there will still only ever be one you. Isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
No matter what. There will only ever be one you.
Ever.
Mm-hmm. So, like, write your story. Make your life the greatest movie, musical, whatever speaks to you that you could ever make it because there's only one. Your story is your story. That's it. Even if I have a sister, if people think we look like twins, that doesn't matter. We're so different. And every single person on this earth has I really do believe has a different purpose, a piece of the puzzle that they're supposed to be here or what they're supposed to do. And we get so lost in following what other people expect of us or what other people are doing that we forget to look for like, what is for me, and I'm one of one. I am one of one. So what's my one thing that I'm going to be remembered by?
I also wanted to talk about travel. I mean, yeah, let's get into travel because like I just traveled to Europe for the first time ever in May. Like I'm like new to like I guess like a little bit of
crossing the ocean.
Yeah, like so and then I go on your page and you're like you've been basically all over the world.
Yeah.
And then I look a little deeper and I'm like, "Oh, she actually not only is this like what she does, she incorporates it in her content, but like she's turned it into like a revenue stream." Mm-hmm. So I want to hear more about how travel like to that degree came into play like into your life and then how you turned it into like revenue
something that
stream.
I do as one of the hats that I wear.
Part of your job.
Yeah. So one of like a pivotal point in my life was when I traveled solo. I found a $100 flight to Ireland, $100. And I was like, I don't want to wait for someone to be down for me to go. So I bought it and I booked it. And I went, and that was the first time I ever traveled solo. And that was when I realized people need to do this. You need to go and see how other people live, and like not necessarily even travel solo, but that's such a big thing for women especially, is like traveling solo. So, you know, there's a stigma against it. You're going to get taken. The movie Taken came out, and then I traveled solo, and my dad was like, really? You want to do this right now? And I was like, yeah, what's the problem? It's like, you didn't watch the movie Taken? I watched it after, and then I understood. I made it. But so it really helped me. Again, I always say this, you'll find a version of yourself you didn't know existed when you travel. Even if it's like with people, which I just traveled with my family, but even if it's solo, especially solo. And so it became something. I always loved traveling, but once I did it by myself, I was like, people need to do this. I need to talk about this more. So I actually vlogged that whole trip. I made one video and it went like semi-viral in Iceland because I was talking about how expensive Iceland was. And they didn't like that.
But you really went like...
Yeah, I went out of it. So like it was like Iceland. Let me go from like, why didn't I just go to like Palm Springs by myself?
Yeah.
I'm a 0 or 100
like I have
girl.
a friend was like, her first solo trip was like going to Napa, which I thought was incredible.
Well,
I went to Iceland first time solo.
I'm such an extremist is my thing. I'm like 0 or 100. I don't know if it's because I'm an Aquarius or what. But yeah, I solo traveled and then I came back and then it just became, I always talk about how like, you need a reset to be your best self also. It's like, I need something to look forward to, or I need to go to a different place. And it's such a way to like treat yourself in a way that isn't like talked about necessarily a lot, is that like traveling is a treat. It is. And I know it's a privilege too. But I started traveling a lot and talking about how people need to do it. And then I started that account, the skating account, and I was reached out to by a company called Trova Trip. And I had already, I don't know if I manifested this, but I had always wanted to like, I wonder how I can get like a group together and like make it, you know, something that people want to do, or like go with me if you're scared to do it by yourself. And then they reached out to me like, hey, would you be interested in this? And it low-key sounded kind of like sketch. I was like, I don't know you. Why would we trust you to like give you all our money? And then I like did some research. Actually, we met via Zoom and I like talked to them and I was like, this is a total viable option for me to do the thing that I had always wanted to do, which is encourage and empower. Specifically, I want to say women. I have some guys on this next trip, but specifically women to travel. And like, if you can't do it by yourself, or you don't have friends that are down, like, I will be that friend. Like, let me be the one. I don't even care. And it's with strangers. I go with strangers. Yeah. So this is I'm hosting my 3rd trip, but it's become something where it's like travel and empowerment. It's like you being around other people, like-minded people, and then it encourages you also that whoever you are is great.
It's a bit much. I'm nervous.
It's a bit much on this end.
They're close.
They're closer, yes.
Like at this point,
I can hear it.
I want people to listen to what you're saying. I'm like, this is insane.
I heard they only mow the lawn when you need to record.
This is, and I can't see them. They're just like these like invisible shit disturbers.
They're like below us.
Like, I don't know where they are. I want to ask, like, can you stop for literally, right there, he's cutting trees.
A tree?
Yeah.
That sounds like a whole job. She really asked him.
Yeah, they're gonna do it.
They're gonna do it?
Yeah.
Wow. Okay, this is good BTS. She asked. See, ask and you shall receive. If you don't ask, you don't know. You won't know.
Because I was like, how much longer is this gonna be? He's like, probably like 25 minutes. I'm like,
oh shit.
I'm like, I need like 5 minutes.
Yeah.
He's like, okay, we'll stop and we'll clean. I'm like,
wow.
All right.
This is like one of those things where it's like, what's the harm in someone saying no?
Instead of me just sitting here struggling.
Yes,
like, I could just ask.
If they say no, then they say no.
Exactly.
What's the worst? Yeah. Yeah, especially in this city, getting used to being told no. You know,
it's like asking like what time it. Like it's like being rejected.
Totally, rejection is empowerment for sure. Yeah. It's like, okay, you're still gonna do it then?
Yeah.
Wow, that was impressive. I'm like, okay.
That's something with like women and like aging. Like I feel like women are like afraid to age.
I hate
but
that.
Like
makes me sad.
I feel so much more confident and comfortable in my skin now.
Oh, yes.
Like I much rather be this person that can be like, this is what I want. I'm gonna go.
Exactly.
Ask for it. Then like, oh my god.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Yeah, that's really gross.
So I think
do you think it comes with age?
For me, yeah. Like muscle, but I think my muscle took like 15 years to build, and now I'm at a point where like I really just don't care about a lot. Yeah, that's the most. This is how I know you're gonna do well, because once you really like detach yourself from an outcome or an expectation, like that is, I think that's where people really thrive. Like, girl, you're gonna be unstoppable. You're gonna be unstoppable. Yeah,
that's
but
what
that
it
is a message in terms like one thing we didn't touch on. We're gonna get back to the traveling, but one thing we didn't touch on is the fact that like there's this stigma that women go downhill at 25. I think you put 30, but I was like, oh, in my environment, like where I grew up, it was like, I was like 23, 24, and they're like,
wait, where were you raised?
Montreal, which is like a little bit of a traditional city. I don't know why, but it's like kind of like what you were saying about like being first generation. Like a lot of people in Montreal are like first, max second generation, like very cultural.
Okay.
It's like the idea is like get married and have kids by like 25.
Oh yeah, that's actually your like old maid.
And as like a woman, it's like there's no way you're even gonna look good past 25. So try to catch a man before that.
Oh my gosh.
And I remember literally being like 23 and people were like, you better like get your life while you can. And I'm like, oh my God. And I would like agree with them. I'd be like, I know, like I don't have much time. And I'd be stressed. Like I spent so much time being afraid for my future, thinking I'm not going to have any opportunity professionally, for love, for anything past the age of 25.
Right.
And now like saying like, I'm just so much more comfortable in my skin. Like I much rather be this age.
Yes.
In my 30s, mid-30s, whatever, than my young 20s, whether or not society says I look better or not. Like, I really don't care.
You couldn't pay me to go back to my 20s.
I feel so much better. No.
You couldn't pay me. You really couldn't. There's not a dollar amount you could put there for me to go back.
No.
Yeah. I'd rather be poor and feel this way I feel about myself than go back to being 100%.
Yeah.
Totally.
A part of the pain that, like, motivated, like, the topic of this podcast was, like, that feeling of just, insecurity, like feeling lost, feeling isolated, feeling I'm not good enough, all that shit. And then wanting to create a space where it's like, you can feel like empowered to be who you want to be. So just to say the stigma of women getting older is not real.
It's not real.
Yeah.
You know who created that? Men.
Yeah.
So don't speak to me about what you think is going to happen to me when, you know, and I honestly, I look and feel the best I've ever felt. Like, for real.
Yeah, that's a real thing, too. That's another, like, lie, basically.
It is
like,
a lie.
You're not gonna physically, like, your appearance, your attractiveness, like, trust me. Like, you're getting hit on just as much, if not more, in your 30s.
Yeah,
like, don't worry about it. Yeah. They'll be
don't
there.
Worry.
Don't
They're
stress.
still thirsty. They're still gonna...
At all ages. You'll be good.
Oh, my gosh. That's so true.
Yeah.
Oh.
But anyways, back to like living the life of your dreams.
Oh.
Because I don't know, for me, like traveling is such a beautiful thing. I completely agree with everything you're saying in terms of the benefits, and then finding a way to turn it into your income and include other people is amazing. Yeah. What were you saying? Because I completely cut you off.
What was I saying? You're right. I was saying Trova Trip reached out to me and it, like basically they make it so approachable, affordable, and attainable for people to travel is what I really liked about it. Like, it seems kind of like why wouldn't I just do this myself? But you cannot put a price tag on convenience and on not being stressed out, really, especially for travel. So that's what I really loved about is that they set everything up. Like, you work with them to create an itinerary of the timeline of like things you want to do. Do you want to throw in a workshop here? Like, you're very involved, but I really love that it bundles it for people and creates a kind of like if you and your girls wanted to go on a trip, but like didn't want to do any of the planning or figuring out there's like a local guide with you the whole time. So like someone who knows you're not going to get ripped off. That's a big thing because when you go other places, especially being a woman, and they're with you the whole time, like, you know, and then it's like getting transportation, like you don't have to worry, they take care of that. So the first time I was kind of like, oh my gosh, I hope this goes well, especially when it's like a bunch of people who don't know each other. You know,
how many people is it?
It's up to 24 now.
Oh.
But my first one was 10. Okay. And I thought that was great. That was a great starting point. Because, okay, what the truth is you make more if more people go. Right. But the first two, I was like, I just want people to go. I just want this to be something that encourages people to do this. And I actually, on my first trip, had a couple of women who had never traveled before. And I was like, oh, this is exactly what I was hoping for. But the reason that I feel like I was able to make this into something that I do, because I don't think everyone should do it. I generally don't think everyone should do it if you're not somebody who like is really passionate about it, because it will become more work for you than it will become something that is rewarding.
You mean like hosting travel trips?
Yeah, because like, you know, because there's a different, like, you are technically working. You're on. Yeah. You know, you're on.
And you're like responsible.
And I'm like, you're responsible for people. It's like being a parent. Yeah. But you have like
a chaperone.
Yes. Yeah. Chaperone, but you're the chaperone, but then you have a chaperone who is a local that is so helpful. But there's people on there who like are like food influencers, yoga, or just like travel, hiking. There's so many different trips that they provide to people where it's really focused on whatever it is that you're interested in.
Okay.
Is what's really cool. And so depending on the destination, like I did a Bali one, and that was just for the girls who had always dreamed of going to Bali. And that's like a 18-20 hour flight. Like I don't know if anyone necessarily would do that by themselves, but to meet there and like be in a space that you've only ever dreamed about, to actually make it happen, that already was empowering. Like, you did that, girl. You did that. So yeah, I think this is just something I'm always going to do now. But it is so nice that it has become a way for me to, it's like I always say you should have something that is for your passion and something that's for your paycheck, and that this combines both is like a dream. It really is.
So how does it work in terms of like as a company? Did they take a percentage?
Yes,
like you
they
get
definitely
paid?
take a percentage. So like some people think that, and I like to be honest with it, that they take a big cut. But for me, you can't put a price tag on someone organizing it for you. Like to put that all together by yourself is really like hotel stays, activities.
They organize it all.
Lunches, dinners, transportation, pick up from the airport, drop off at the airport. Like, yeah.
So your role really is like the marketing.
Yeah, it is. That's I'm getting someone to commit to paying and going on a trip with you. Thousands to going on a trip with you with someone you've never met. I'm like, you think I'm crazy? You're crazy. You're going on a trip with a stranger.
Yeah.
One of the big ways I get people to book is I say just the truth, which is strangers are just friends you haven't met yet. And when you're in an environment where you only have each other, there is such a bonding experience there. Like it's just built in to the trip. It becomes an immediate bonding experience. I still have a group chat with the first group that I went with. And then the other thing I say is like really meeting a version of yourself you didn't know existed and showing yourself that there's more to whatever you're doing. Like, and because it's such an eye-opener, you know, like you just travel too, it's such an eye-opener when you see how other people live and how life can be. Especially now with social media, I think it makes it easier because you can actually see what goes on in other places. Like, oh man, I want to see that. I want to try that. I want to taste that. So social media has really, I think, also encouraged travel to be something you should do. Not just for the gram, but for the growth.
Yeah. I mean, just being exposed to like different values.
Yes,
like really just that. And then like comparing it to yourself or like different ways of living. Like in Europe, where like the emphasis, Italy and Greece. And like, I feel like there was like a strong family value. Like there was like a strong like hosting, like they're passionate and it's very important, like how they host people. There were so many things where I was like, it's really cool to go somewhere else where you take their value system, kind of compare it to your own. And then that's how you end up changing. It's like you take what they're showing you or how they live, compare it to your own and figure out your little in-between that makes sense for you.
Yeah, again, it's like shaping your realities, like going to other realities and then creating your own via that. Yeah.
I was saying to someone recently, because like there's almost a little bit of a guilt, like when you travel a lot, you're almost like, it's like it feels.
Should I be home more? It's true.
You almost feel like over privileged or something.
And people have made me feel that way too.
I saw that in your comments where they're like, how do you travel so much? You're like, well, and then you had to get real about sacrifices and like what you value and what you put your money towards. Like
that's really
you said, like I rather experiences over things like that. And so I was having a moment where I was feeling like guilty about doing so much travel. And I was like, sometimes it's not even about like the travel. It's not like, I'm not even seeing it as a vacation. I'm seeing it as like character development.
It is. That is such a great way. Let's reframe it because it really is it's not even like you have to do like bougie trips for it to be, it's not that.
You could go and just throw yourself into a new culture and see what it does for who you become.
Totally. And how it becomes part of you, like your new, that's character development.
That's what it is.
It's all for the plot. It's all for the character development of your movie that you're living.
That's how I felt.
Yes.
I came up with it and I was like, almost feels like silly, but that's how I feel.
That's true though. To get out of the guilt.
Yeah.
Because it does feel,
But I was like, I'm not just trying to vacation. Like I need this for my character development.
Yeah, that's true though. And also, whatever.
Yeah.
Maybe I do deserve a vacation too. I hate feeling guilty for, it's like the productivity things, like fun is a waste of time.
Yeah.
You can have fun.
Yeah.
And it is good.
Enjoy your life.
Yes, enjoy your life. Enjoy your life.
Yeah. Okay, so I'm gonna get to the last question.
Oh, I love it.
And it's funny because I don't know if I normally put this like on my list of questions that I send.
Okay.
But I definitely didn't send it to you, so I'm surprising you with this for sure.
Okay.
This is an interesting one for you because like you stand for this in so much of what you do. But the question is, if you could break the mold on one thing, what would it be?
Oh man, one.
I know,
Only
and that's why
one? That's my problem now.
It's tough for you. You have like 6 different movements happening.
Yeah.
Like
One thing, break the mold on one thing. Man, now I wish I prepared.
Yeah.
No, not even like that. It's just like I'm so passionate about. If I had to only choose one thing, all right. I'm gonna go back to one that I did say because I am passionate about it because it has made me. I am a collection of failures, and I want it to be that failure is an option. It is an option. It's a necessity. You need it to become whoever you're supposed to be. Like you need it. So embrace it. Let it be part of what builds you into whoever you're gonna be, or you're supposed to be. Not even supposed to, but want to be who you choose to be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that. Thank you so much for doing this with me.
Thank you. I feel like we were just like hanging out.
Yeah, I know.
You know?
I could go a few more hours.
Yeah,
but
me too.
We'll cut it because they say this is the optimal time.
We're on a time limit.
Yeah.
Let's go. Thank you so much. I really am.
I appreciate you.
You said so many nice things about me.
Yeah.
I didn't know.
No, this was great. You made this so much fun.
Yeah. Fun size.
Yeah.
Thank you.